In this activity, we're going to look at a navigational view controller, which will allow us to move from one view controller to a related view controller. A good example of this is the Settings app in iOS. When the user taps a cell in Settings, a new view controller animates from right to left to cover the screen. Returning to the project we made in the last activity, what we're going to do is go up to Editor, Embed In, and choose Navigation Controller. You can see the navigation controller appear in our storyboard, and we can have a look at what effect this immediately has by building and running our app. First of all, everything looks pretty much the same. We've got our red screen with our button that we can click on, and we can see our yellow. But look, there's a back button up the top now. So we can now jump between all the screens. Our dismiss button still works, and that takes us back to the red screen. But when I use the back button, it only navigates one screen. This is a clear difference between what we had before. Let's stop our app from running and return back to our storyboard. From here, you can see we have a navigation controller scene and a navigation bar within. Let's choose that. In the attributes inspector of the navigation bar, we can change many things, like change the bar tint. Let's make that an orange. And we can change the tint colour to a yellow. We could even change the font that is used as well, but let's keep ours to normal. To change the title of our other views, we're going to choose Navigation Item, and in the Attributes Inspector, type the title we want to use. Let's use red. Now build and run your app. As we can see here, we've got our button working perfectly. The navigation bar is orange. We can segue across to the yellow view controller, and you'll notice that in the navigation bar, that instead of saying back, it now says red. And our dismiss button still works. Let's stop our app and then adjust some of the way that the back buttons work. In our object library, we're going to look for a navigation item. And it looks like a little bit of an arrow to the left. We're going to drag that up on the yellow view controller and let go. From here, we can actually give a title of yellow, and we're going to make our back button say go to yellow, then hit enter. Now looking over at the green view controller, you can actually see now the button says go to yellow. The red navigation bar has nothing to go back to. So what we actually do is click on the navigation item, which is called red because we set that before, and we're going to say the back button is going to be go to red, which you can see updates on the yellow view controller. Now let's make sure that the green view controller has a title. So we're going to drag up our navigation item into the green view controller and give it a title of green. Let's build and run our app and see what it comes out looking like. Hopefully yours is coming up looking the same as mine. So all our buttons work, back buttons work, and the titles of our buttons look good too, especially the back ones. Let's stop our app from running and move on to the next part. What we want to do is replace our dismiss button with a button in our navigation bar. In our object library, let's look for a bar button. Once that's located, we can drag it up and put it in the right-hand side of our navigation bar, just like that. Once it's in place, we can use the Attributes Inspector to control some settings. Like for instance, we can change the look of it. Xcode has some built-in icons that you may have noticed from other apps that you use. For our example, we're actually not going to use an icon but use the word pop. So in the title attribute, type in pop, and you'll see that that would appear in the navigation bar. At this stage, I don't really like that orange navigation bar, so I'm going to go back to the navigation controller and the navigation bar and change the bar tint just back to default. I think that looks better. Yep, that's looking good. Much better. Just like our dismiss button, we're going to control, drag and click on the exit of our navigation controller, just like that, and then choose our unwind. Now we can actually delete the dismiss button because our pop button is going to have the same effect. Okay, so let's build and run our app, and it's looking pretty good. Much nicer without the orange bar. Click our button, our next button, click our pop, and look, we're back to the red, which is exactly what it should do. One nicer effect that you may have already seen in an iOS app is to have larger titles. To do this, all we need to do is to go back to our navigation controller, choose the navigation bar, and then tick the box that says prefer large titles. You can already see the effect in our storyboard. Let's build and run, and there it is. And I think that's looking pretty good. Click our button, next button, and we can see all those titles. It looks really, really nice. Such a pro app and not much effort. Let's hit stop. The next thing we might want to do is pass some information, and we'll do that in the next activity, and I'll see you then.